Well, it's now the second most heartbreaking 2-0 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins in team history, but the Preds couldn't quite find a way to get on the scoreboard against the Pens. However, one big bright spot in the game, Juuse Saros. Talk about his performance today on the Locked On Predators podcast.
Your Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day every single day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast available to you wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer at somewhere, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer and editor at InsideThePreds.com.
All right. Well, first off, I would like to offer an apology for two things.
Okay.
One is saying that the Pittsburgh Penguins' weakness has been goaltending. My bad, Tristan Jarry. And number two, I would like to apologize for Mikael Granlund for saying that man does not shoot the puck because he let all Penguins in shots on goal last night with 5.
Okay,
Actually, take that back. Crosby had more, but Granlund's second on the team in shots with 5.
Yeah.
Which I think might have been 5 more than he had this entire season.
Here's what I will say about your apologies. When it comes to the goaltending one, you weren't wrong because we did talk about the fact that sometimes, they're so inconsistent. Jarry, it's like we've talked about that nursery rhyme. When he's good, he's very good. And when he's bad, he's naughty. When Jarry is good, he's very good. But there are times where he is very inconsistent. So I would say half an apology.
Okay.
And then Mikael Granlund, he listened to us yesterday and was like, oh, this is not going to be the narrative tonight, friends. I'm going to show you. And Juuse Saros was like, hey, it's so great to see you, but not today, Satan.
Yeah, Juuse Saros shutting the door. I feel like the conversation about this game starts and ends with him. Although, to be fair, there were a couple of bright spots and a couple of big old negative spots for the Nashville Predators as well. Let's run through this game, shall we? Luckily, there's not much to run through. No scoring in the first. Jason Zucker scored halfway through the second period to put the Pens up 1-0. Predators pushed a little bit. Juuse Saros kept this one close, did everything he could to keep the Preds in it, but Jay Gensel got a power play goal towards the end of the third period. 2-0 Penguins, the final score. Juuse Saros wound up with 43 saves on 45 shots. He did everything he could in this game to keep it close. And what's one word to describe this game?
I'm actually reusing a one word, but full disclosure, very different context. So hear me out. My one word is strawberry pretzel salad, which we've had a lot of conversations about.
It does sound good.
Yeah, it's my favorite food, but I'm using it in this context. So a lot of you know I grew up in Pennsylvania. Love my extended family. I have a huge extended family. We're like the Bylers, like the Amish. It's a large family. We get together every summer on my uncle's farm for a family reunion. My cousin Ken makes a giant 9x13 pan of strawberry pretzel salad, mostly for me. I let the other cousins eat it. This summer, after this game, I have a new plan for the family reunion. I am going to go up. I am going to steal the 9x13 pan of strawberry pretzel salad. I'm going to hide in the barn and I'm going to eat it directly out of the pan because I do not want to listen to my Penguins fans, cousins, who, full disclosure, I adore them. They're wonderful folks. But I do not want to have to listen to, we beat the Predators in both games this season. Y'all. Mm-hmm. A whole 9x13 right out. I'm not slicing it. I'm not plating it. I'm eating it right out of the pan because that's what's going to get me through this family reunion because the Predators could not even beat the Penguins once this season. Kills me.
Yeah, I like what you put on there. It's like, yeah, I love my family, but also screw my family. I am for myself. Damn the consequences, people.
Look, family ties are very, very tight. I'm very close with my family. But if you put a 9x13 of strawberry pretzel salad and the Pittsburgh Penguins on the table, all bets are off, friends. All bets are off.
It just goes all downhill from there after
all
that.
downhill. So I will be in Uncle Jim's barn eating the 9x13 strawberry pretzel salad. So I don't have to hear about how great the Penguins are because they weren't super in this game.
Ooh, okay.
I said what I said, Nick. I said what I said.
I mean, I'm gonna have another hot take on this a little bit later, because I think you and I were talking where you didn't think the Preds played all that inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree. I kind of think the Predators had some pretty good chances in this one and ran into some good goaltending.
We should talk about it later.
Minus one big thing I think we're going to talk about after this. To me, and my one word is group project.
Oh.
Because everybody flashes back to high school, and Juuse Saros is like the aide student who got put in the group project with like the class burnouts.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's like sitting in there with Molly Ringwald in the Breakfast Club while trying to put together like this diorama on space or something like that.
Yes.
And everybody else is like sitting in the back talking, making jokes, laughing at the word Uranus, making jokes. And Juuse Saros is like, hey, I would kind of like an A on this. Can somebody please help me do something? And it's like Juuse Saros's part knocked it out of the park. Like,
yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
The rest of the team was like fine, but not great. And as a result, it brought the group grade down to, I don't know, what would you say, C+, B-.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think this game was a D or an F or anything like that.
No.
I think the Predators certainly had their chances, but yeah, this was the group project. Juuse Saros was the superstar. 43 saves on 45 shots, single-handedly did everything he could to keep the Nashville Predators in this thing. It just wasn't enough to compensate for the team in front of him not scoring.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have like a twitchy group project from your past that you just can't let go?
Probably.
Yeah. I just think that's such a great universal horrible experience that every time I hear people talk about group projects in college, it was referred to as cooperative learning. And, I get a little twitchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Juuse Saros 100% carved the moon out of butter, including the Sea of Tranquility on this one, and still somehow came away with like a C. It's not fair.
Carve the moon out of butter. What?
Yeah. For like the project, for the presentation, I think, have you ever seen people that they carve statues out of hunks of butter? They're incredible.
No. Was that a group project you had?
I wish I would have nailed that. I would have nailed that one. No.
Yeah. What do you do if the butter just melts?
Well, you keep it at a certain temperature so it doesn't, because otherwise, that's just.
It sounds great. I'm just very confused where the butter statue came in.
Yeah, there's like a whole competition, and it may be in Wisconsin. Okay, deep dive, gonna look into this. There's a whole like super competitive, artistic wow competition of butter carving statues.
That does sound like a very Wisconsin thing to exist.
Yeah. Juuse Saros did that, folks, in the game last night, and somebody on the team made toast and hacked off the moon and spread it on there and ate it. That's what happened.
And his name was Mikhail Granlund from the other.
Yes, it was.
More to talk about this game in a second, because Juuse Saros, the bright spot. I think we all agree on that he single-handedly kept this game. But of course, the Predators lost 2-0, so there's some things that need to be worked on. One thing in particular, and I know you would most certainly like to dive into. We'll do
Yes.
that in just 1 second. First, though, I want to mention today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. We know what this weekend is, right? The last 4 teams of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. Can't really say what it is because of, contract stuff. But hey, if you want to put some money on it, you can use FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And if you haven't used FanDuel before, perfect time for new customers. And that's because FanDuel's giving new customers no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. All you have to do is go to fanduel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no sweat first bet. Then you can wager on anything: money line, point spreads, which team will be cutting down the nets when it's all said and done, how many points certain players are going to have. And you can do it all on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to fanduel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, Ann, one of the sore spots of this game, and I think one of the sore spots for the vast majority of the 2023 NHL season. Let's talk about the power play, shall we?
I mean, yes, we really should talk about the power play. I had so much angst over this game, over this power play. I mean, you can attest to this because Nick and I were chatting back and forth after the game about the podcast. And I was a bit of a donkey on the edge. I turned on some Snoop Dogg and I worked through my big feelings. But this power play is really a thing for the Nashville Predators. And what is frustrating is that there was a brief time and space in mid-February where this power play was really cooking.
Yeah.
And I have felt so frustrated because you bring up these young guys from Milwaukee, but the young guys that you brought up from Milwaukee are players who have a lot of experience in Milwaukee on the power play. And we've seen Phil Tomasino, we've seen Luke Evangelista, we've seen Cody Glass, we've seen these players step in and play on the man advantage. Kiefer Sherwood is somebody who I don't think looking at the Predators bench, you'd go, there's a good power play guy, but this is somebody who's got experience. And last night, I was so frustrated by this power play. Remember that the Predators went 0 for 5 against Boston. Couldn't get anything happening on the power play again last night. And what is going wrong? And then it sort of dawned on me in the middle of some Snoop. What you have to remember is that right now the Nashville Predators power play, and this brought me a little bit of comfort, is playing without Philip Forsberg, it's playing without Roman Josi, and it's playing without Matt Duchene. And I took solace in the fact that at least we're seeing these younger guys from Milwaukee getting set up on the power play at times. Because can we all agree that there have been times, stretches in this season where the Nashville Predators couldn't even get set up on the power play?
Yeah.
But this is one of those things. I remember Matthias Ekholm making a statement one time that really stuck with me. And he said the reason that the Nashville Predators were so successful in the Stanley Cup Finals and in that stretch and in the President's Trophy year was the power play. Yeah, it is absolutely an advantage. And the Nashville Predators have not been able to capitalize on that advantage. And they're losing games by 1 goal, 2 goals. And I'm like, y'all, this season turns around if you get that power play going. It's so frustrating.
And that was the big key to why Nashville was so hot at the beginning of last season.
Yes.
It was because of the power play. I mean, they were one of the best power play teams, even at the end of the season, but one of the best power play teams in the entire NHL. And you saw how important that can be. Just, 1 goal with a man advantage. And here's a stat. Since March 13th,
oh no,
the Preds have played 10 games, 1 power play goal.
Woof.
one power play goal in the last 10 games, which, believe it or not, came against the Toronto Maple Leafs of all teams. Yeah, I mean, this is an issue for the team, and I know you're losing a lot of your key guys on the power play, either via trade or injury right now. I agree with you. It looks like the team is set up right. The power play has good structure. There's some good movement. They're just doing everything but score.
Yeah.
And I'm watching some of these games on repeat, and I can't quite put my finger on it because they're set up well. They get that first thing into the zone. They set up well. There's good movement. I think maybe a lot of it is there's not a lot of second chance opportunities, and maybe that's something the Preds need to work on. They're like I said, they're set up well, all that good junk. They get that shot, it's cleared out of the zone, and the Preds either have another one and done again, or they just can't quite get set up to where they were at the start of their power play. You see some really good teams, like Tampa Bay, Colorado, teams with really good power plays. What'll happen is, they'll get a shot on goal. It's saved. Puck goes behind the net. There's somebody there to win that puck battle.
Yes.
And then take it back to the defense, and they kind of reset and keep the pressure on. Or the other team will try to clear it, and there'll be enough pressure that they'll either, kind of bank it off the boards, throw it to the center of the ice, and there's a defender there to keep that puck in.
Right.
That's what good power plays do, because you just keep putting pressure on that team. And even if like the goalie finally just, covers it up with the glove, blocker, whatever, gets a face off, you at least have a face off in that offensive zone where you have an opportunity to set up again. You're putting a lot of pressure on that defense. That's something that I don't think this Predators power play have. Structurally, they're really good. As you mentioned, They're setting up well. There's movement. When they're set up, they're doing a lot of things well. It just doesn't seem like they're getting a lot of second and third opportunities kind of in the same cycle, in the same zone. So that, to me, maybe that's a big red flag, where you either have to have somebody win those puck battles and get that, or maybe somebody in the blue lines got to do a better job of kind of positioning to block a shot from going out, or block an exit opportunity.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there. I think you may be onto something. I think it's about sustained pressure. And last night in the game, Nashville really were in situations that were one and done on the power play. And they also gave up some shorthanded opportunities. All hail Juuse Saros for being the bacon saver of the night again in those situations. But I do think that you're onto something. I think there's something about sustained pressure on the power play, because it looks good. It doesn't look horrific. You can see improvements on it, but I think sustained pressure might be the key. You might be onto something. I may sleep better tonight without listening to
knowing it. Did I just unlock the key to a healthy night's sleep for you?
It's got to be a good start.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the hot take. For me, just a mid take. At the beginning of the show, which was, you didn't think the Penguins played all that good. I did.
I don't think that they started all that good. When you watched this game, you are looking at how many, like $37 million worth of players versus, the five and dime Woolworths version, the Dollar General version. And I felt like Nashville, in a lot of areas, was really matching the Penguins game for game. I think part of that, though, was a confidence thing for Pittsburgh, because things have been a little bit rocky for them. Once Pittsburgh got that first goal, that unlocked something for the Penguins. And that's where I feel like after that goal in the second period by Zucker, I feel like the Predators started having to chase the game a little bit more than they did. I felt like as I watched this game unfolding, I looked at the Penguins and no, Northwestern Pennsylvania bias, but I thought, this doesn't look like a playoff caliber team. As the game went on, they got ahead of the Nashville Predators. But I have to say, I didn't look at them and think this is a team that's going to play their way deep into the playoffs.
Fair. That's fair. To me, on the other side, I think the Predators stepped up to match them. And again, I think you're right in saying the game kind of got away from them after that first goal, and they kind of had to settle down. And they turned it back on towards the end of the game, but at that point, it was too little, too late.
Right.
But I thought this was a case of the Predators stepping up in what was, wound up being a pretty big game for both teams. Again, Pittsburgh trying to hang on to that wild card spot, Predators trying to get back into it. Again, for those that say playoffs aren't a question for the Preds, remember they entered this game with more wins and the same number of points as Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Come
If
on.
that tells you how wild this season has been. But no, I think it was the Predators stepping up and playing a meaningful game. And again, I think it wound up being the Penguins after that first goal. They got going. Some of the guys like Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin realized, hey, we're Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. And we're playing against the Milwaukee Admirals.
Yeah.
And I think they stepped on the gas, but I think there is a lot of people, not just Juuse Saros, that rose to the occasion in this one.
Mm-hmm. A player who really has stood out to me recently, and also again last night, who's not going to get a lot of credit, and I know what everybody's going to say when I say this name. Y'all, I know what you're going to say.
Cole Smith.
Cole Smith. I mean, let's just talk about that. Look, this game solely belongs to Juuse Saros. Credit to Juuse Saros. But I do want to give a shout out to somebody like Cole Smith, because Cole Smith is winning the board battles. Cole Smith is on the penalty kill, which Nashville's penalty kill really has been executing very well, considering what they have lost through injury and trade. These guys have stepped up. Players like Cole Smith have really stepped up. His game, it is not flashy. He is not going to be Philip Forsberg 2.0. He is not trying to outshine Luke Evangelista when it comes to offense. But what you need somebody to do, Cole Smith is doing that. So let's give a shout out to these players who are, he's been kind of a lightning rod for reasons that have nothing to do with him or his game. But there are players in a very challenging circumstance who are stepping up and making the most of their opportunities. And I thought Cole Smith had a really good game last night.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's somebody that stepped up his game. I saw another really good game from Dante Fabro last night as well.
Yes.
This is a guy that got in front of a lot of players, a lot of shots. He did go out and I think throw his body around, try to win some puck battles. He was on the power play, which, doesn't seem that great in context of everything we just said about the power play. But I think he wasn't the main problem of the Predators not scoring on the power play. But he's somebody that I think overall he's stepped up his game with guys like Roman Josi out of the lineup, and guys like Matthias Ekholm not there anymore, and Alexander Carrier, who has kind of passed him on the organizational depth chart, not there. Dante Fabro. There's a lot of people that I think raised their eyebrows a little bit when the Predators re-signed him.
Yes.
For one reason or the other, whether it was surprise because he seemed most likely to get traded, or the fact that maybe they don't see him fitting in a longer term. But I think, you see what he's done when he's thrown in the fire here. And, I think he's a more mature defenseman than the 2019-20 season when he was kind of also thrown in the fire. And you could tell there were just moments that were maybe too big for him. I think that's happened again this year. He's been thrown into a role that maybe he's not quite best suited for, but this time around, he's a little older, a little more mature. He's figured out kind of the strengths and weaknesses of his game, and he has been able to step up and rise to the occasion.
And I think that's a statement that you can make about this Predators team, which, look, there are some things I really hate in hockey, and losing to the Penguins is one of them. I hate losing to the Penguins. But here is what you can say about this Nashville Predators team. This is a team that has really been through a season of adversity, whether it's losing your veterans in the trade, restructuring, resetting, whatever verb you want this team. You've lost so many great players to injury. You've called up great players. This is a team that's really walking through this season of fire, and they're getting better for it. Like, even though they lost to Pittsburgh, there is no, they're not hanging their heads. They're not going in and playing defeated. And you know what? That's something we saw from some veterans earlier in the season. And you've got this young team coming in, and they know they're not foolish. They know how hard this challenge is, but they're embracing it and accepting it. And so credit to this Predators team, pieced together as it is, because I think in the long run, what they're going through right now is going to make this team better faster.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And I think maybe this gives them a little bit of a jump start into building towards next season.
Yep.
Now we head to this weekend, and
Yes.
this is going to be a big one for the Nashville Predators. St. Louis Blues tomorrow.
Yeah.
And hey, so remember, St. Louis was kind of in the same position as Nashville, traded all their people, and all of a sudden the Blues are absolutely red hot at the moment. They have won, let's see here, 6 of their last 10 on a 2-game winning streak.
Come on.
So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be another opportunity. Remember, this was when we were talking about the Preds' remaining schedule. The Blues were the one remaining team not in the playoff hunt that the Predators had on their schedule. Everybody else from here on out currently has a playoff spot. And all of a sudden, you run into the Blues, and all of a sudden, the Blues are a red-hot team. This is going to be another case of the Predators being able to be at home at Bridgestone Arena in front of your own crowd, playing what is probably going to wind up being a very, important, very physical playoff-like atmosphere. You have an opportunity to do that if you're this young Nashville Predators team.
And you say that this is a team that's not in the playoffs, but this is not a team to overlook. Next week's schedule is atrocious for the Nashville Predators, but the Predators cannot overlook tomorrow's game at noon. It's a noon game, just so everybody knows. Against the Blues, like you said, they've won 6 of their last 8 games. And this is a team that can score. They are averaging 4.2 goals per game in March. They are losing games while still scoring 3 goals, 5 goals, 6 goals. So this is going to be a defensive challenge. We're going to need, again, great goaltending. I would suspect maybe we will see not Saros. I wonder if Saros will rest this game, and maybe we'll see Lankinen. That's just, I'll talk to John Hines when he calls.
Yeah.
And we'll hash it out together. But this is a game where the defense is going to need to step up. And this is a game where the power play needs to get it going. This is an opportunity to get it going because St. Louis's penalty kill is 28th in the league. Let's take advantage of the man advantage, please.
Yeah. Right there with you on it. So that is a Saturday afternoon game tomorrow at Bridgestone Arena. I expect a very loud atmosphere. Not only is it, for still being in the playoff hunt somehow, some way, but it's also against the St. Louis Blues. Probably going to see Jordan Binnington. There's a lot for Preds fans to cheer for in this case. So This is, I think, going to be a very intense game with a lot going for it. Blues certainly, they're probably out of the playoff race at this point, but they certainly have, I think, something to prove as well. Sure. So we will be back Monday because, as hand referenced,
buckle up, friends.
Does next week get crazy for the Preds? Back-to-back against the Stars and Vegas Golden Knights, Carolina Hurricanes, one of the best teams in the West, and then the game Saturday that is honestly the season at this point, the Winnipeg Jets at Winnipeg. So the
sounds
Preds,
so fun.
So the Preds have a gauntlet next week. We will be back Monday to preview the week ahead. Anne, where can people find your work?
You can find my work online at InsideThePreds.com. You can find me on Twitter at ANK_Mama on Ice.
You can find me on Twitter at _NS Morgan. You can find me somewhere else that I hope to maybe talk about on Monday, possibly Tuesday. Have to dot some I's and cross some T's and all that good stuff. But for now, find me at _NS Morgan. And if you want to go back and read my work, go to ontheforecheck.com. Also, be sure to follow the podcast, LO_Predators. And however you're listening to us, whether you're watching us on YouTube, listening on your favorite podcasting platform, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Really helps us out with the numbers there. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back Monday with all new episodes. We'll see you then.